Hey, GM, welcome back. What's going on, family? How we feeling? Back for another OhnahjiU Saturday on this Saturday, May 23rd. In the building. What's going on, family? How we feeling? Yes, day 278 out of this 365 journey. I'm Ohnahji B, Brian, founder behind Ohnahji and Ohnahji University. And we are here again today. Our longest running segment, OhnahjiU Saturday, has been rocking these since Man, February 2022. It's been an amazing journey. It's been a really good time, even long before we started with the cam on over here on these live stream platforms. Been having some go to conversations. So not only me, but a bunch of the super supporters in the fam, Big Dean Energy, Big Dean Squad, right hands. And matter of fact, speaking of, we got Boss 2.0 in the building, Dean of Communications. Let's go ahead and pull them on up. Boss in the building. What's going on, family? How we doing? Yeah.
What is good? Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Loud and clear. Sound
Oh,
good.
okay, lovely. Yeah, what's going on? Happy Saturday, y'all. What's up, B? Good to see you.
You too, for sure. Summer's here. Summer's here. It's hot, and summer's here. Speaking of, hey, we got another OG in the building. Hey, Dina Magic's in the building as well too. I see through. Let's go ahead and pull Dean. I see through up in the building as well too. GM, I see. How you doing, family? What's the word? Good to see you. Happy Saturday, fam. Yes. Might be getting his mic all together and all that good stuff. Tony in the building. Soy Tony. It's good to see you, family. How's everything been your way? Shout out to you, man. I've been catching some of the streams. You're outside. Got the business, got the landscaping business, and the customs going, man. Keep killing it. It's good to see you, man. GM.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. What's going on? What's going on?
All is well. I was getting my microphone in order, as you mentioned. How is everyone? I hope well is the answer.
Well
What's
is the
going
answer.
on?
Yes, well is the answer. All right, y'all. So yeah, we got the whole squad in the building for another OhnahjiU Saturday. Love to see it. Man, there's a couple different topics I got. Back since February 2022, we've been talking about emerging tech. So that's heavily, on our agenda. The AI side, the blockchain side, here and there, but also, culture and just how that propagates with tech and the home team and all that good stuff as well too. Bro, tell me why I got no notification. Not your. Well, you here. It's all good. I don't know. I think Purple app's kind of been messing up a little bit here and there. I've been missing some notifications and stuff too, but it's all good. Just scrolling Twitch, stumbled in. My man, that's what's up. Good to see you. So yeah, this week, couple of different pieces. I did see, in a kind of a little tech twist, we had NYC mayor, ma'am Danny. How you say his name? Do y'all know? Yeah. So he went live 2 days ago.
Mandani.
I'm
Mandani. So
Johnny.
he went live. He went live a couple days ago. Kind of surprised, really. I was seeing a lot of the comments are saying, "We didn't know this was going on," but he went live over on Twitch, over on YouTube, over on Blue Sky, which Blue Sky really kind of just routes to Twitch anyway. But it's still kind of a cool little process. And it was interesting. I went back and I watched it. I didn't see it live, but I went back and watched it. And I'm not gonna lie, it looked like a spur of the moment type of thing because there was like no moderation at all. And the chats were going crazy with the trolling and the comments and all kind of stuff. Did he get any tips? Hey, I don't know. I didn't watch that far in. I don't know. He did get a bunch of followers, up in the hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands over on Twitch, hundreds of thousands over on YouTube. So yeah, NYC mayor. And it was interesting. So it was kind of giving you know, Obama over on Twitter, type of vibes with the social media. And it was kind of cool to see that. So I don't know. Did y'all see that? Did that hit you guys' radar? What's going on? What you think about that?
I saw
Uh,
some clips, um, but I really can't tell you what they were talking about. I mean, I what he was talking about. I saw some clips. I saw a little bit of the stuff on the timeline about it, but hadn't caught up to like what was going on.
yeah, no, that didn't hit my radar, but it doesn't surprise me. That's his energy. Like he's the young mayor, so not super young, but young enough to be on Twitch. So it's not really a surprise. He's good with social media anyway, and short form videos and all that. He's good with that. So streaming is just an extension of talking, which they have to do as a profession. So I feel like any of them could stream if they're good at talking. Some of them haven't had to be good at talking, depending on how long they've been in their positions. But a newly elected politician has probably been talking for a minute, so they're good to get on Twitch. I'm sure pretty fast if somebody puts it in front of them, and it's not going to make them feel like they're getting against their platform or something like that. But yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I don't know what he was talking about. He seems to be doing the things that he said he was going to do anytime I hear about him. So I'm sure he was talking about those types of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and it looks like, they named it Talks with the People. So I think it might be like a reoccurring, talk show for him, which is really kind of cool. It kind of humanizes, it kind of connects him not only to just the people, but on these platforms, the younger generations as well too, which like you said, that's his energy. So it was kind of fly. It was kind of fly.
Yeah,
It
we
was
have
giving,
I read that
mayoral.
he didn't know what Minecraft was.
which is, I mean, hey, some some of
That's not
those,
that surprising though.
Wait,
A lot of people
yeah.
don't know what Minecraft is. A lot of people don't know that. I think some people only know what it is by extension of seeing their kids on it, but
Correct.
that's the extent of it.
But he's a youngster. What is? She's 34. His birthday is the day before mine. That's interesting to me because you're gonna be on Twitch and I know what Minecraft is. But I mean, yeah, I guess you do have to be, in certain spaces and areas to know what it was. But if you're gonna be on Twitch, come on, Donnie. I feel like he needs to turn around and I think he needs to stream like on OhnahjiU and play and play Minecraft or play Fortnite or something. That would really endear him to the people.
I think what it is TikTok lives really is what kind of jumped off to a lot of the mainstream people about live streaming, because they thought of it as a gamer thing before. So once Pinky Doll and all of that stuff and Spider Miles Morales, all that stuff, people started realizing that okay, we can do that too, and a level that was different than what IG Live felt like at the time. So I think a lot of people who are more established, particularly because of so much of the stink that has been put on TikTok because of the association with it being, Chinese, so to speak, a lot of people will look at Twitch as a more mainstream type of alternative to jump in. And so they don't want to, and also they might feel like TikTok is for the kids, so if Facebook is for the olds. So I think a lot of you'll see. I feel like that's why he got on Twitch without having to know anything about Minecraft like that. I think that's where you will find people landing in Twitch because it wasn't TikTok, and that was like the other option.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's kind of giving, NASA just recently went live. What was that? A couple weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago now, where they went live over on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously too. So, yeah, it's just, it's an interesting strategy. I think it's pretty cool. I like these live streaming platforms now, and I was one of the ones who was like, "No, I'm definitely not trying to get on camera." But now I love it. Now we're on day 278 of this, daily stream streak and going in. I'm not sure say he had a crazy 6 degrees of separation story. He said, but I'm not trying to dox myself. But that's fire. That's fire.
Yeah, we got a mayoral election, big changing of the guard around here because we've had the same mayor for a very long time. And it's only because she has decided she wasn't going to run for re-election, pretty much, because it wasn't seemingly easy to unseat her. So now we, for the first time, have fresh choices. So yeah, that we might end up seeing them on Twitch because he did Twitch. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah,
it's like the next thing. That's what it feels like. Like when the mainstream people get off in it, it seems like okay, like everybody's gonna start doing it. So, like, I'm not gonna put other words out there, but that would be very interesting to see politicians on Twitch and see if that changes the culture of it. Because I feel like if we start keep on Twitch, we're gonna start seeing talking heads on Twitch. Oh God, oh goodness gracious!
Like, does Twitch become the place where you go live? I don't know, because there's also people who pick YouTube, but I feel like YouTube's a different energy if you're doing live. I mean, it depends, but I don't know. There are also live streams that are very interactive with YouTube, but it's just different energy. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting, especially with the lives, because like YouTube's not really, the live streaming side is not really like their bread and butter or the main thing that people think of YouTube for or go to YouTube for. You go to YouTube for the long form videos, not for the lives. Some people probably do, but that's not what they're known for. Twitch is known for, that's their, that's the main structure, is the live streaming platform. So
yeah, like if you're trying to learn, watching somebody that you want to learn from try to interact instead of teach will frustrate you, because they're trying to cater to the people that want to chat while you're trying to learn. Like the balance, you're never going to please everybody that's in the audience when it's really an instructional place most of the time, when you go live like that. So just depends on the channel, I think. If it's something that's performative anyway, and they're not necessarily going to be sitting there trying to type and chat and all that kind of stuff, then it can work out. It just depends. Yeah. But Twitch is more suited for it, like you said.
I watch a lot of live stream on YouTube though. Like a lot of it. There's a lot of good pop culture stuff that's there. And then I have friends that are I have friends that are churchy, and that's where all the church tea streamers are.
I can definitely see that, because that reinforcement funnel action, like they're just giving it to each other back and forth. Yeah.
It is truly a whole community and a whole culture of like churchy streaming stuff that goes down, and like the tea is way wider than the stuff that we see on TMZ. It's kind of crazy. And she watches it like nightly. And I'm like, girl, come on. But I mean,
the audience is part of it.
Yeah, and it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. That's where they are, because that's where, I just kind of feel like that's where they all congregated. And there's a whole different culture of it there. Like, they are very much like, if you want the tea, you need to hit my Cash App. Here's my Venmo. Here's my Zelle. You got 20 minutes. If I don't get $200 in 20 minutes, I'm gonna log off for tonight. It's a whole separate thing that I don't see elsewhere.
Well, we don't even want to get into the underworld of what is it, Bigo?
Oh God!
Like, if you don't know about that, like don't investigate. Live your life without knowing.
I'm in that crowd. I don't know what you talking about. Yeah. I'm not here.
Remain blissfully ignorant. You don't go down that rabbit hole.
I'm weak.
Please do not. Please do not, because it's some wild stuff. Who gatekeeping? Excuse me. This okay for me. This is the gospel. You need that.
No. He was talking about, that was an early comment. That was an early comment. He was talking about
you don't need this gospel.
I'm weak. Nah, that's too funny. That's too funny. Yeah, I don't know. Nacho saying he's seen a couple of politician streamers, and they're doing numbers like 60K viewers, 30K ish. It's crazy. Makes sense though. Makes sense. Yeah, not you gatekeeping on reference and the people asking for money for gossip. Yeah, he had put that comment up there.
Gotcha. But again, that's the culture. That's the culture over there. Everybody does it. That's what you expect it to do if you give that type of stuff. And I mean, that's how these people low-key make a living. Like, they go live like 2 or 3 times a day.
Man, It's interesting.
So wait, do they do like the other streamer thing that I've seen people do? Like, oh, if I don't get $100 in tips, then I'm not going to reveal it. Like, you got to get, that's how they get the money. Like, that you have to.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I
Absolutely.
get it.
They'll tease it as like a blind item, or they'll say exactly who it is and what it's about. Or if you know what's going on and you know, like your favorite streamer is talking about it, or they have some type of connection to it, you know, they'll come on and it'll start and they'll be talking to people and be like, you know, it's okay. I mean, I gotta go around the corner. I need to go cook. I'm gonna go take a nap. But if you want to hear me talk about X person and Y person, then I need $50 in the chat. And then, like, sometimes they will get mad about the situation if it's not going fast enough. It's so crazy. It's so wild to me. It's so wild. And then on top, these people also have Patreons and and AdSense. So I feel like they're like double, triple dipping, like racking it up. Like
a Patreon, boss, a Patreon.
A Patreon where they do after shows.
I mean, this is what happens in a world where we have kind of decided that entertainment is not a priority in terms of quality. And that's really sad. And you know, you hear about it, or we heard about it when they had the strike for the Actors Performers Guild, Screen Actors Guild, and they were really trying to explain to people, like, you see me on TV, I can't pay my rent. I'm on TV right now. I was on TV last year. I still can't pay my rent. Like, they were trying to explain all of this to people in a way that they would explain it and say, like, we didn't really go around doing all of this before because we would sound like crybabies while we're trying to represent the Hollywood life. You know, we want to play, you know, they want to play the role too because they want to be rich and famous, not just the famous part. So I think, you know, a lot of people empathize with them, but I think the broader thing that a lot of people missed outside of that personal connection that they were trying to make to the people was that we really lost the quality of entertainment in a lot of the things that they were complaining about. People don't have outlets like we used to have, and we didn't even have as many options as we do now, but we have more options, but they're all bad, right? You know, so it's like you don't have a way to distract people in mass numbers in big blocks of time like they used to be able to do with television. And now that's where you have people scrambling to do all these random things to be able to find a way to, like, zone out and entertain themselves. If it was like, you know, something of quality that everybody could agree is good, even if it was flawed, but still good, you know, I think everybody would kind of unify and look at it. But now it's so, like, spread out. Even if there is something good, it's not like it was before. You just needed to have the technology of the television. You have to have the device. You have to have the subscription to the internet. You have to have the subscription to the service. You know, there's 3 layers there. So yeah, people gonna get it wherever they can these days. Bigo, Twitch, YouTube. People just gonna do whatever just to pass the time.
It's interesting. I don't know. Do you think a huge piece of it though is, you know, the same thing with what we're kind of seeing across like social media, where, you know, these bigger platforms and these bigger groups aren't as attractive to folks because, I mean, they want to, you know, feel connected to whoever is talking, whoever's speaking, or, you know, that early fandom. I don't know. I think like the underground, you know, mentality of like music is still kind of, you know, it's kind of actually showing up in live streaming and other entertainment sides as, you know, social media grows, as just the internet and that tech grows as well too. You know, you have like a core following of people for like some hidden gems that I guess the everyday folks don't really know about. You know what I mean? I think of course huge celebrity is still gonna do its thing. It's gonna still grow crazy fandoms, but I think people are looking for the, you know, the smaller connection piece, especially since, you know, as we were talking yesterday, like people aren't really going outside anymore again, you know. So pandemic of price. It's
I
expensive.
think you're 100% correct, though. I think the key word is the connection. I think that's what's missing, because we used to all have to look at the same thing at the same time. No matter where you were, you had to turn that box on and look at it. And we all saw it together. And we all the next day could talk about it together. And your world wasn't so broad that that conversation included thousands of people potentially. It was just the people at work, or the people on your bus route, or your people in your house. Did you see, whatever. Like, that was how we kind of processed things as people, and slowed our world down, got some entertainment, some little bit of joy, a laugh, whatever it was. You might have been listening to spirituals on the radio, but it was like that's where everybody turned that radio on at that time and listened to that preacher, whatever it was that we did, that wasn't just run the streets and look like fools. It kept us in one place at one time and docile, and we were cool with it. That was the agreement we had as a society for entertainment, right? So I just feel like that pact has been broken at the higher level of the people who are providing the entertainment. It's so spread out and disparate that now there is no connection. So people, like you're saying, they're looking for it wherever they can find it, because God forbid you find it like actually outside with people, but they're going to try to find it in the domain that they've become accustomed to, which is the internet.
That's a bar. That's a W clip. I see. No, 1,000%. 1,000%. All right, y'all. In other news, in other niche groups, on the blockchain side, of course, it was Pizza Day. It was Bitcoin Pizza Day again yesterday. And honestly, I didn't really see or hear too much about it. And this weekend, Bitcoin and Ethereum and all those coins on down is kind of dropping. It's kind of dropping. So that's a different energy that I've seen around these last Bitcoin Pizza Day celebrations over the years. But I don't know.
Mark Cuban sold all his Bitcoin. What do you have to say to that, OhnahjiU?
Wait, he did?
How much is all of it? How much bag are we talking about? A big one?
What kind of question is that? You know who we talking about. Just answer the question. What's your response?
He knows that all-time low season is slated for October this year. It's all-time low season mathematically. So we'll see. I don't know. Does he buy back in around that time? Well, who knows? Or maybe not. Does it all go to zero? I don't know.
I just thought that was wild to just be like, I'm out. Y'all can have it.
He'll probably get back in. I don't know.
But why sell it all if you're gonna get back in when you're that rich? Like, if you think there's even a potential for it, you would just let it sit. You might sell some of it, but maybe even half of it, maybe most, all of it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Even if he didn't sell all of it, to publicly say it like that is to like, would you might as well have sold all of it if you're going to say you did. So
it's true. That's true. That's true. Or he's rotating into something else. I don't know.
All right. And I said he said he doubted that it can be a hedge against inflation. Like, there's a part of me that understands so much of the lore of cryptocurrency behind that, but is that the only reason why you were in it, Mark? And then that makes me side eye him just a little bit. I don't know. I don't know. I'm like I said, I didn't know about it, so I'm reading real quick in like quick synopsis of what was going on with that. But if that's something that he believed, like, I feel like there's much more in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin than just being a hedge against inflation. Like, he's making it sound like it's a vehicle to help strengthen traditional fiat rather than new currency that has a different purpose. Um, he's not one of the people that I follow when it comes to understanding Bitcoin and what helping me understand what I potentially need to do with it. So kind of hearing about that is a little interesting to me. I knew he was a big holder, but him getting out because he says he now doubts that cryptocurrency can be a hedge against inflation. I'm also like, and I'm very interested to hear what Nacho has to say about this because I think we had this conversation when you first kind of came around, and I'm very, very interested to hear about this because I feel like that's kind of right up your alley. So, good topic. Let's get into it.
I love your perspective, boss, and I think it's very important because I think it's kind of like the other side of a coin of perspective. Because if you were to try to put yourself in his position from where he sits and the way he moves money, it's much more abstract to him. And not just because he has a lot of it, because there might be somebody who just inherited a lot of money and just sits around and just somebody tells them they've invested it for them. He's more active with money. So the way that he looks at finance is completely different. And I don't think he looks at it in terms of fiat, decentralized, like all of that's just gobbledygook that us plebes are talking about in our chat rooms. That's nonsense to him. He doesn't care. He only cares about exactly what he said. Is it a hedge against inflation? That's the only thing he has a reason to care about. The rest of that isn't even on his radar because there's no reason for it to be, because he's operating at that level. And I'm not even going to say like a higher level, just at a different level, a different point of view about money and how to move it around and how to transact and what it means to you. And like it is only a vehicle, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, a vehicle to transact. And if it makes it faster and cheaper and they can make money by getting in on it now, that's all it has ever really been. So if those things start to not become selling points, then there's no reason for them to put their money into it. It only really leaves the hope that the rest of us are either generating for ourselves or being given that encourages us to invest in it. So, like that's not enough to sustain it. We actually would need their big money also buying up a bunch of supply to make it look like a viable thing. Because if it was just us with our little bitty money, it would look like, people just throwing little darts at it. So, you need somebody that can buy big chunks of it and move it around and all that kind of stuff. That's just how it works. So it's indicative of how he feels, but I don't know if it's indicative of anything larger than that. So, that's why like the different perspectives are important, because his is just one, but his money is bigger than one.
Bars.
I fully get that, absolutely, and fully understand he's working at that different level. But then sometimes I think about people, the folks that we do look at when it comes to Bitcoin. This sounds funny to say, almost being like a cryptocurrency influencer. And I feel like he is one of those people. He has been so vocal about, his portfolio in crypto. This damn light, y'all, be giving me the blues. He is always so vocal about specifically Bitcoin, and apparently now Ethereum, because it says like he feels more favorably about Ethereum than he does about Bitcoin. And even though he works, he uses it in a different way. As much as we hear sometimes about Mark Cuban and what he does with his crypto portfolio, that's going to ultimately trickle down to people who think that Mark Cuban got out because it's a hedge. He doesn't believe it's a hedge against inflation anymore. To where we got not even self-fulfilling prophecy, because we did say it's mathematical, and I understand that, but we have more people getting out, which could potentially, take this price even more for an all-time low season. Good for the regular, the regular Bitcoin consumers, the plebes that are out here. But as I vocalize that, it still somewhat feels like influencer manipulation, I guess I should say.
What do you think, B? You feel like he's trying to put a finger on the scale and move people over to Ethereum?
I don't know. I think no. I think Mark probably is looking at, like all these other billionaires, looking at AI, looking at the storage prices, thinking probably like, oh, we done missed the 10, 20, 100x on some of these other traditional stocks and stuff. So he's probably just looking at other places to move his money to be honest. Like he said Bitcoin was supposed to be the better gold than gold, but gold was shooting up, in January, all-time high season for gold. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it does in a way. I think it's good if you're a crypto fan, follower, evangelist, what have you, that he did not kind of dismiss crypto in general, and that he does have good feelings about some other part of it. I think that he's as much a technician as he is a finance guy, more so probably. I think he's a finance guy by nature of becoming a businessman and being smart enough to be involved in the finance, but he's a technical person first. I think he probably can see Ethereum has a future as a functional crypto asset, not just currency.
Right.
Like people are using it in ways that are not just to transact currency, and that makes it more valuable even as a currency because it has a monetary value associated with it. Whereas Bitcoin's value is just determined by the fact that we've all decided it's valuable, Ethereum has a functional value associated with it. Bitcoin could be used in a similar way, as some people have proven, but because of the exorbitant value that we've associated with it, it costs too much to use it the same way that you can use Ethereum. That's the very benefit of Ethereum by its nature. Its original selling point is that we're cheaper and faster. So they kind of multiplied upon that by those, what is layer 2, they keep finding ways to make it more versatile and find ways to make it cheaper to use. So I think as a business person who's technical and into money, I get why he would look at Ethereum and say, if I'm going to do anything with crypto, that's probably where I'm going to put my money right now.
I hear that. Not in the comments spin. I love it. It's semi-related to the billionaires on all. And we were talking about how AI companies need to implement KYC, know your customer, into AI because they don't want bad actors to misuse the most powerful models, aka track everyone and what they're doing, which is the main reason crypto won't get institutional adoption, because it is designed to avoid KYC. I mean, I feel like most of the major platforms right now, you kind of have to log in for most of the features, you know what I mean? At least email login. So as far as like KYC, I mean, that's as deep as the KYC in crypto goes, like log in with the email, put your name in, phone number type. Well, some of the platforms like the Coinbases and things, sometimes you got to put in social and all that other information and stuff. But
I would ask Nacho, is crypto designed to not do KYC? Where do we get that from? Is that like a cultural thing by the people who are in crypto? Because I don't know that crypto itself is anti KYC. Like it's inherently trackable. If anything, it's super friendly to KYC. It's just waiting for you to attach a name to all those transactions so you can track it even easier.
Right. Which, yeah, I'm with you there. I don't know where that kind of came from. Maybe it was a lot of people weren't really explaining how crypto worked and things like that, to where, yeah, I was kind of confused when back in the day when people were shocked, like, oh, you can, we got the Zach XPTs tracking people and the different detectives and sleuths on the time on the chain. It's like I was confused, like y'all didn't know how this worked, and
Well, I mean, they kind of do, though. I think this is the weird thing about how, as society, how we communicate via social media and learn how to turn off parts of our brain just to say the thing that we want to say in our bubble that we're in, right? Because we are smart enough to be able to say in the same breath that, oh, you can't fake it. There's a ledger. You can go see exactly when that happened and who did the transaction. Like the same person can say all of those things, but also not have the same thought on the other side of their brain that, oh, well, wait, that means it's not really kind of built to be anonymous. It's actually just waiting for you to say who this person is.
And all over social media, everybody was saying who they were, with the wallet addresses and everything.
Exactly. We were being conditioned to like just put it all out there. Give us the string of numbers. Sure, nobody will know what it is unless you actually want to use it.
Right.
But then at the same time, like Nacho said, there was some stuff in the original white papers that was about, peer-to-peer trustless transactions. And I know that we put, for the people who understood what it could mean to communities and others, absolutely. Like they were very much like, here's this OX address. I think B-Tip tweeted last week that he was at one point in time probably somewhere in the future for the tattoo that OX address. So I mean, there's no there's no other way to avoid that. If you get that on your body, then that is yours. But I also argue that we had those same people, especially when it came down to conversations in the space about being trustless in anonymity, specifically when it came to race. That people were like, this is what it was made for. I don't care that you are a woman, you are queer, you are Black, whatever else. This was designed for me to not know that. So there is none of this, none of these arguments here in the space. And as much as it very much is right to be labeled with KYC, you're always still going to have those people that are going to be like, that's against the core belief of what Bitcoin and decentralization is even about.
And I hear that, and I just, here's the thing though. I feel like those are two separate concepts that were coupled together by the people who were creating this, but that is not, the philosophical component is not a replacement for the technology itself. That was the people who were writing these white papers saying, this is how I want to use this technology, not this is how this technology works. So I think that's the issue, because once it's introduced into the world, it's like they forgot to address the part where does the money come from that you put into this? And until that part is decentralized, you can't make the other part decentralized. As long as you have to, and you have heard me say this a million times, so just for anybody that's listening that hasn't, as long as you have to use your centralized fiat money to pay into the cryptocurrency, it is still all coming from the same source. So there's no anonymity beyond maybe transacting in some really highly technical way where you can obscure what you're doing electronically. But from the point that you're getting it from your bank, like maybe unless you go to one of those gas stations that have a Bitcoin ATM machine, yeah, I guess you could do that. But then once you try to pull it out into your bank account, then there you go. It's trackable again. Like there's no anonymity really involved in all this transaction that's happening. A peer-to-peer network, somebody would have to create that, but there's no entry into the network without getting it from your fiat centralized source in the first place, because that's how we get money. So this whole conversation, I get it, but I just never understood when people try to impose it on the technological part of the conversation, like as if they don't understand that it can be used that way to track you. And like talking about KYC and crypto as if they're antithetical and don't belong together doesn't make sense to me when you're talking about the technology. It does become antithetical when you're talking about the philosophy, though. That's what I'm saying.
I like that. I like that. I just said, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is all these KYC checks that are happening now were not part of the original design or intentions. They're built after the fact to appease regulations. I think, yeah, part of that for sure, but also part of it was like, you know, having a mainstream tech or wanting, you know, as many people to hop in as possible. We're going to deal with, you know, personal human identities. I think, you know, part of the thing, and Nacho, I think you're talking about, you know, Satoshi and Bitcoin specifically, just that system itself. But most of the people that, you know, kind of came into the boom of it was Ethereum on down, and, you know, the PFPs and identity, and, you know, even Boss saying like the OX addresses and having, you know, that whole OX movement, and then people being proud of their addresses, proud of what's in their wallet, proud of the art that's in there, you know, all that good stuff. It's just attaching, you know, we kind of subconsciously just attach the identity because that's what we do as humans, you know. But also, I see through made a strong point yesterday is like we do as humans need to kind of stop making our identities our hobbies, or making our hobbies our identities, or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of human nature, you know, especially if you are in a space and you're not in a financial tech to just come in, make as much money as possible, screw over whoever you want to as possible. On the other side, you're going to be, you know, building your story. You're going to be proud of your wallet. You're going to be proud of who you're connecting with, building network with, collecting in your wallet, you know, sending art to, giving art to, buying art from, all that good stuff. And it's all of that's identity, and all of that is trackable for sure, because I think, you know, humans are proud of that individuality, you know what I mean? But yes, I agree, that is as far as like Satoshi white paper 2008 Halloween, yeah, no, none of that was in there. That was not part of the plan. You know
But
what I'm
then,
saying?
as we have this conversation, I sometimes think that in 2008, 2009, when that first, you know, block was mined, it was made as an answer to a problem that was going on at that time. 2009 from 2026 is quite a ways, and though finance from 09 to 2006 has evolved, Bitcoin itself has not. And I think that's the beauty of it, but I think that's also sometimes where we get these conversations from, because it hasn't, you know, Bitcoin itself hasn't changed. But what has changed, and what we now have in the market are other coins that have been introduced after it, which are answers to finance, to, you know, what's going on financially at this current time. But I think that's also just what's rolling around in my brain when I talk about it. Perhaps Bitcoin was an answer to what was going on at that time. Now that we have evolved financially past that, there is still, you know, some use that we see, but we have other coins and we have other things that are closer to what may be beneficial for us when we look at finance now.
1,000%. No, we're cooking on this
Yeah,
little
no,
convo for sure.
I think it's an important conversation to keep having, because I think it's important to always for me, when I'm hearing it said, to know where is it coming from. Is it because of what somebody thinks about the technology, or is it just because that they are a believer in the original intent of the idea of the founders of it? There are people who will be exposed to this who will never know the founders' original intent. So, there's always going to be a different range of belief about it. People are often introduced to it as a way that they can make their own personal wealth without any sort of philosophy around it at all. So they don't know who Satoshi even is a lot of the time, any of this kind of stuff. So, like their resistance to things like KYC and belief in anonymity, I often ask, where does it come from? Just because I'm curious, like, did you develop that from some research? Is it belief you have because of something you think about the technology? Is this just what you hear other people saying in chat room? Like, I'm just curious. So that's why I kind of asked the question. Not so much because I don't know the history of Satoshi and all that. Of course, I do know that. But I should have phrased it more clearly, really, to get where I was coming from. But I think it's an important conversation, like I said, because me personally, I don't disagree with the philosophy. I just don't think it's realistic. And I feel like that counterpoint should always be in the room. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I think that side of the conversation should always be in the room, because I don't disagree with the philosophy. I just don't think it's realistic. We don't live in a world that allows for that to be the case. And just like, Nacho was saying about how the criminals were attracted to it because of how it was marketed. And I'll go as far to say, like, they didn't actually have the anonymity that they thought they did. If anybody was actually, if they knew how to look for them, they could have found them. And actually, they did end up finding a lot of them. So, that's kind of the thing about it. It's not as anonymous as they would like it to be, because of the system it's actually operating within or around or through. And I think we need to hold on to that part of reality in our brains so that people don't get too comfortable like some of those criminals did and find themselves caught up somewhere.
Hey, man, hey. If that's what happens, that's what happens. I ain't, oh well. No, I'm just like, that's too funny. I do want to circle back. Though, because Von Moore's in the building. Shout out to Von Moore. Shout out to all y'all. This has been an amazing conversation for sure. Von Moore said, can we talk about universal basic income? I definitely want to hear what y'all have to say about that. And I don't know. You say what? It's gonna be a while.
That'll be a while.
give us the little pre-summary.
That's not going to happen until they don't actually need us to do things anymore, where it doesn't make sense to use us. And we're not there yet. The robots, they can't even do the moonwalk. We saw that. So, he could turn. We got one. He could turn some boxes over. Sure, okay, but they can't do the level of work, the quality required to displace the need for human labor, and they can't do slavery. So, those are your options. So UBI is not happening until it becomes economically viable to just use the robot and throw some pennies at us to make sure we're not starving and we can, play in the street.
And a huge piece in that as well too, from the news that I was talking about yesterday, with some of this vibe coding situation, and Uber going crazy and blowing through their budget for their 5,000 devs using Cloud Code and all that good stuff. It's too expensive right now at this point. Like IC3 is saying, robots can't even moonwalk, they can't even get it done. But even if they could, it's way too expensive. It is way too expensive, so. Yeah, I agree.
I also feel like where we are here in the US, we are too capitalism focused to really push forward a universal basic income for people. We are too, we're too committed to the idea of money, what it can do, and making as much of it as possible to then take it to give to others, especially when so many people feel like they have made it for themselves and that was easy. So why can't others do the same? Um, as much as we have organizations and people that are philanthropists and are open to help others, I feel like those people are in the minority, especially sometimes when it comes to people who have the ways and means. Um, so until we kind of reset our perspective, our paradigm on money and how much an individual or a group of individuals needs, universal basic income is going to be really, really tough to, to get folks who have a lot of capital um, into the idea of spreading the wealth across others who they feel have not done what they needed to do to make income for themselves.
Huge facts.
I agree
But
100%. And your answer inspired me to not be as politically correct as I was in my first answer. My real answer is UBI is an oxymoron. There's no such MFing thing. Never will be. As long as there's such a concept, to Boss's point, as long as there's such a concept as income and what that actually means, there will never be such a thing as a universal basic one of those, because the people who control money are never going to decide that we, the resource that generates their money, don't actually have to generate it for them anymore, and they should just give us the money. That doesn't even make sense. Why would they do that?
That would that's tough. That would be like what you just say to me.
The only society where there's anything that's even remotely similar to that people have as a model, that's not a pilot program like Ireland did with some artists, is like UAE, Saudi Arabia, and they have like programs where, because of their natural resource programs, pull in so much money, where if you're a certain part of the citizenry, you can get a stipend, right? So that's what a lot of people will point to, right? So even if somehow the thought process is, well, okay, well, we would have to have some resource like maybe robotics or AI. Yeah, I don't think, okay, China's got us cooked. Sure, we're not going to be the ones that that lock that down and become the exclusive best in the world where everybody's trying to get our stuff, and we can make so much money that we can tell our people, yeah, y'all don't have, you can work if you want to, if you feel like it, but you don't have to, because we got all the robot money in the world. Like, it's not going to happen here. So yeah, to Boss's point, I think as long as there's a world that's based on capitalism and what capitalism means, which is the exploitation of the poor to give to the rich, which is how it works. That's by design. Mm-hmm. You can't have one without the other. So the rich can't exist without the poor, and the poor can't really exist without the rich. Somebody has to get less, and somebody has to get more. The whole rat race of it all is, in America, is we're convinced that we have upward mobility and that we can get up there, and that's the whole thing. Other places in the world don't have such illusions. They don't really feel like they have that much range to get to, or they all feel like they're already in a good place. So yeah, I think we got a long way till we get to a world where capitalism is not in play, and then it's a matter of sharing resources, and it's not a universal basic income. It's just the sharing of resources, and people would probably have shared labor. Somebody, will have to do whatever robots can't do, and human things tend to something, and we share resources. But it can't be a capitalist society, because the people at the top will never just pay us to exist.
That part. That part.
I think it's idyllic, but to get that many people and to change government finance and bits of regulation to try to get there. Oh, that sounds like a new world order. That sounds like a new society. And here in the U.S. right now, I don't feel like we're getting ready to break down the Constitution to redraft a new one. But I do think that's why we have organizations, federal organizations, and some that are here to hopefully help people, and people who are interested in that, who can help build those programs, regionally, locally, sometimes statewide, federally. Yeah. I mean, they're there. How much longer? We'll see. But I definitely think instead of a focus on things like universal basic income, I think working at that grassroots, community level, local level, um, familial level, even sometimes can be much more beneficial than waiting for a federal program. Um, or a statewide program or even a global program that can help benefit others. Like, let's do that with one another, because it's
You
going to be a long
read
time
my
coming.
mind. You read my mind. Like, as I was thinking it, you were saying it. Symbiosis. Go ahead, keep going.
See, I'm learning. We coming a lot, but even now, I feel like a lot of this wouldn't come, without folks from the community helping change my perspective on it. Because I mean, and especially just now here, especially here in the U.S., like it brings to mind we have the city that I teach in is kind of split in half by a major thoroughfare. Like Highway 80 splits our city in half, and there's a north side and there's a south side, and there's a rivalry there. There's a demographic split there as well. But on the north side, there is a big push for like a logo, and we see it kind of everywhere in this WAWG, and it's We All We Got. And so sometimes I've maybe been over there for 2 years now, and then seeing stuff that's happening, it kind of makes me kind of think about that sometimes, because we are very much like, okay, what do you need? What do you need? I have it over here. Let's help one another at that smaller level. Because citywide, it doesn't really happen like that. So maybe, city I teach in is a microcosm for what's here in the US and probably even globally. But yeah, just very much have been thinking let's start it small with the people that are next to us, because that's going to be a larger, more immediate change than waiting for the whole system itself to change.
I agree with you so wholeheartedly. I think that's going to be such a key to the way people move into the next phase of like how people operate globally without the world crashing down. Is people realizing that it's not like microeconomics, like kind of compacting it to what you can control, you getting the advantage out of what you can get the advantage out of, and controlling the profits. Like, a lot of we're kind of coming through this renaissance of shaking off the dust of the 20th century and all of the intense colonization of the late 19th century that kind of was like corporatized in the 20th century. It was much more brutal and like done by countries that were still run by kings in the 1800s. But in the 1900s, a lot of that stuff became industrial. So that's why you have a lot of stuff the way it is in Africa. And, people don't really talk about how the kings of all those European countries met and had a meeting and divvied up and said, I want this, and fought and argued it out and picked who was getting what, and went in there and killed all these people, millions of people, to take over these places to get the resources. And now we're just in this phase of kind of shaking that off, and you're seeing countries in Africa fight back and cut France off and cut other countries off and say, no, you can't have this anymore. And yeah, it's interesting to see, and I think it's inspiring when they do it, and I want it to spread, so that people become the masters of their own fates. You know, these are your resources. You live there. You're mining the mine. Why are you getting none of it? Let alone not all of it. It's yours. Why are you giving it to this other country just because they illegally invaded you and killed a bunch of people? Like, that doesn't make sense. We can't just keep doing that. So, you know, I think in America, there's room for the same collaborative local work where we can put our money together and create our own programs. And you have cities that are piloting UBI, but I think to Boss's point, I think, you know, we have to get to a point where we're not waiting on the city to do it. We have to figure out how to create community organizations again. I think that a lot of the strength of the civil rights movement was rooted in the church, which was an inherent part of Black life at that time. You went to church, you were part of a church, that was your life. If you didn't, something was wrong with you. That's not the truth anymore. So there's no unifying one place or one thing that we all do that makes it easy to have a community organization like it used to be. But I don't know, that's something, that's work that somebody has to figure out. And I know the internet seems like the easy way to reach people and feel like you're creating community, but that's not the same thing. So anything that anybody who is listening to this ever does that's like about building community, don't forget the community where you live, where people are actually right there around you. That's a community too.
It's facts. It's facts. But you better start using the internet for some of these Eventbrites and Lumas and start a weekly something, you know, right in our own communities and things. But it's actually not a bad idea. But
yeah, I just mean, like, a lot of people looking on the internet, like, there are people around you that might want to hear you talk about the same stuff. Not to say you shouldn't stream or shouldn't be online, but it's like, why ignore the people right there?
facts. Facts. I love it. I love it, Shaw. Hey, I'm not gonna lie, this hour flew by with some amazing combo. Sheesh. I love it. I love it. All right.
Well, hold on.
Well,
Before we go to Nacho's point, so I asked a question in the chat because you mentioned Finland and Denmark about the people, the happiest people, and all these statistics about these places, right? And it's funny that he mentioned that because I saw something, I think maybe even this morning. It's funny how things work. It was from Vice, and they were in Denmark, and they went to the hood, and they were showing how like they're having all this crime, and the people there are like upset about it. There was also the incident in Ireland where the guy was suspected of shoplifting. So they're saying it's like another George Floyd, where the cops stood on him and leaned on him and suffocated him to death, basically in front of the store on the street. So that just happened in Ireland like the past couple of weeks. And so there's a lot of tension and pressure surrounding mostly Black immigrants, maybe some Arab immigrants in some of these European countries. And so that's why I was curious. Like, it did make me wonder, like, now some of these countries didn't have ghettos, quote unquote, or hoods until they started getting a lot of immigrants. And it's interesting how people respond to that. It's very interesting, but it makes me question, in a society where everybody's so happy and they have all this extra money and everybody's good and there's nothing wrong, if you have influx of immigrants coming in, why is where they live, the hood? Why is it? It just seems like there's something there that maybe everything's not so idyllic there, just because they haven't had a reason to be upset with each other for a while, and agree on how to spend their money. So that doesn't necessarily make them a model society, because once you introduced people that weren't like them into that society, watch how they treated those people. That tells you a lot about how they are. And they might be happy, but I'll just say, you know, there were probably a lot of happy slave owners and Nazis and all kinds of other people who were economically sound and good with their money and all agreed about how to spend it.
It's a solid point. It's a solid point. That's a solid point. Hey, Ms. V, in a building, say all these happiest in quotes are based off employment laws. Happiness is directly tied to work-life balance, which, yeah, in the U.S., we are far from. We are far from this capitalistic society. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Hey, another OhnahjiU Saturday. Y'all went crazy as always, man. We've been having such amazing conversations since 2022. It's wild. It's wild. Definitely appreciate y'all for coming through. Nacho in the building. That's a good point, but I do think Europe tends to focus more on workers versus billionaires. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That may be because we have a higher concentration of them, first of all.
Yeah.
Europe is a continental mass and not just one country, so you know they can have different opinions that spread across the different places who may have no billionaires couple, you know. That's I get the comparison, but I don't really think it is a fair comparison.
Oops. Big doves. Hey, Miss V in the building. Nacho, my guy in the building. Sheesh. Von Moore came through for sure. Papa Brow's in the building. My guy Z came through earlier as well too. Nah, scoted. And two amazing co-hosts, Boss 2.0, Dina Combs, and IC through Dina Magic. Y'all, you guys gotta join the Discord. Come through. You know, been having amazing conversations as well too over there. It doesn't stop just on these Saturday mornings. So yeah, W chat for sure. Nacho, you to go. Catch y'all later for sure. You as well. You guys have an amazing weekend. Hey, holiday weekend, 3-day weekend, all that good stuff. Summer's here. Summer is here. So
the pools are open.
The pools are open. What kind of magic? Hey, Ms. V says. I love it. All right, y'all. W stream OhnahjiU Saturday, May 23rd. Round 2, day 278. Chaos Magic. I don't know. We'll find out next week. Just kidding.
Find out next week on Dragon Ball Z.
We'll be back tomorrow for sure. And then we'll be back next Saturday. Actually, we'll probably discuss next Saturday. I think we'll be traveling, grad season, all that good stuff. But yeah, we're gonna make it happen. Ancestral primarily have branched out and learned much more. No, I'm weak. All right, y'all. You guys have an amazing week. Have an amazing weekend, and we'll catch y'all next Saturday. All right, W stream. Peace. We out.